How did it get where it got yesterday?
Essentially, Greeny, I think that the Jets all along were enamored with Zach Wilson. And I think that they were talking to teams and had conversations with about a half dozen teams over the last couple of months regarding a potential Sam Darnold trade. But the team in the end that seemed the most interested was the Carolina Panthers. And in the end, when the Panthers offered 3 picks, I think that made the Jets' decision rather simple. The Jets could have held on to Sam, but what if Carolina went a different direction? What if the Panthers decided we're going to draft one of these quarterbacks? What if they decided they were going to trade for Deshaun Watson? What if they went in a different direction? Then the Jets wouldn't have the team that was most aggressive on Sam Darnold. And we talked yesterday about all the teams that had dried up in terms of having a glaring quarterback need. We were down to basically Carolina, Denver. Yes, there are other teams with significant quarterback questions, but how many of them were going to make a significant play for Sam Darnold? And we talked on this show yesterday extensively about the idea of keeping 2 quarterbacks. And yes, the Jets could have done that. Quarterbacks are assets. You want as many assets as you can have. But the fact of the matter is they also were going to have to make a decision on Sam Darnold's 5th-year option. And I think that would have tied them financially and made them a little bit uncomfortable having to pick that up. If they pick it up, they're on the hook for the money. If they don't pick it up, everybody knows they got to move on from him. And it just creates one more issue in a situation that they felt they were better off not having. And so when they get the 3 picks back from Carolina, they make the deal. The Jets get back the 3 picks and now lock in to a quarterback at 2. And the Carolina Panthers lock into their quarterback. At least gives them some flexibility now going forward.
Yeah, they still have Teddy Bridgewater on their roster for the moment as I bring the rest of the crew in here. But, Schefter, you sort of addressed my other question there briefly. But they lock in on a quarterback. Have they locked in on the quarterback? Is there any question but that Zach Wilson will be that pick at 2, Schefter?
Greeny, I sent him a text yesterday. I said, welcome to New York, Zach, officially, okay? So that's about as far as I can go right now. I mean, Zach Wilson would seem to be the obvious choice at number 2. It looks like he is headed to the Jets. You don't trade Sam Darnold and make that move without knowing that you're going to pick a quarterback at 2. So let's play it out. Trevor Lawrence is going 1 to Jacksonville. The Jets are on the clock, and they're going to take Zach Wilson from Brigham Young.
All right, send me his contact. I want to talk to him later. But in the meantime, let me bring the rest of the crew in here to the conversation. The man who is synonymous with the draft itself, Mel Kiper Jr. in the lower right of your screen. Mel, did they do the right thing yesterday? Did the New York Jets do the right thing?
I would not have traded Sam Darnold. That's my decision. That would have been my call all along. I would have gone with Darnold and then been able to move down and get a Kyle Pitts, a Devontae Smith, a Jamar Chase, or a Jalen Waddle. But, Greeny, they didn't just get the 3rd-round pick that was reported. I said, hey, that's giving Sam Darnold away. You cannot do that. If you're only going to get a 3rd-round pick in return, you keep him, let him battle it out with Zach Wilson. He'll probably been the starter. See if Sam develops into a great quarterback. If he does, then you can trade Zach Wilson for a haul. But they got the 2, the 4, and the 6. So I think those 3 picks instead of just a 3rd-round pick is the reason why Joe Douglas felt, hey, you got to make this move. And for that, I think it's a good deal for both parties. They got more than was advertised. And for Carolina, I think it's an A+. I would give Carolina the best in this deal because they got the young 23-year-old quarterback, former 3rd pick overall, in a division now with Matt Ryan, 36. Tom Brady can't play forever, and New Orleans is now figuring it out at quarterback. So this gives the Panthers a leg up in terms of getting their young quarterback in Sam Darnold.
Not only that, but, Mel, very quickly, to repeat for those who haven't seen you say it, if Sam Darnold was in this draft class, where would he go?
At worst, the 3rd pick overall.
Oh, there you have it. And maybe even the 2nd, which ironically... Yeah, Schefter.
Let me just say this. If the Jets didn't have the 2nd overall pick, they would not have traded Sam Darnold. If the Jets would have been number 3 or 4 or 5, they would have kept Sam Darnold. But because they're at 2 and because they feel so strongly about Zach Wilson, that enabled them, right or wrong, to move on from Sam Darnold. If they were any later in the draft, they don't make this trade.
So then let me go to the general manager here, and that is Mike Tannenbaum. One way you could look at this is the New York Jets just gave up 3 first-round draft picks to draft Zach Wilson. It's almost like trading 3 first-round picks for Zach Wilson because clearly that was the compensation for the pick behind them. In your opinion, Mike, as a personnel evaluator and a put-together of teams, is that the right decision?
I think it is. And, to Am's point, though, it shows you how much the Jets like Zach Wilson. There was a massive gap between Wilson and Darnold, and I agree with it. Sam Darnold's had 3 years, and look, you could talk about the lack of supporting staff, coaching changes, and everything else, but at some point you have to show greatness. Sam Darnold never showed greatness. Zach Wilson, to me, has a really high ceiling, and if I'm the GM of the Jets today, I go to bed every night with this one fundamental question. Do I have the ability to compete against Josh Allen year in and year out? And you do with Zach Wilson, and in my opinion, you don't with Sam Darnold.
Okay, so there's that easy. All right, Booger, I saved the best for last. The floor is yours, big fella. What do you think of the whole thing?
Well, Greeny, I think, first of all, from the Jets' perspective, I'm on record saying the same thing that Mel said. I would have kept Sam Darnold and built around him. I still think he's a very good young quarterback, but the Jets decided that they didn't want to do that. And I think if you're Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, they want to come in and get their own quarterback. They want to make sure they choose their own guy, an athletic quarterback. All signs point to it being Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson, from a talent standpoint, he's no more talented than Sam Darnold, so it's going to be what you surround Zach Wilson with in New York. From Carolina's perspective, I think this is a home run. Listen, I have seen the offensive coordinator there, Joe Brady, work wonders down at LSU with Joe Burrow, how he tailors the offense to what the quarterback can do. And we saw what Joe Burrow turned into. You look at Matt Rule, how he wants to develop a culture. You look at Tepper, the owner, how he wants to build the team. I think this is a home run. I think the future is so bright for Sam Darnold. And if you look at the situation, I can make an argument that Sam Darnold is now in a better situation regardless of who they take at number 2, regardless of where that pick will be in New York because of the offensive coordinator, the head coach, and the weapons that are in Carolina. Sam Darnold has to wake up like a kid in a candy store. He's got to be like me this week and you, Greeny. It's Masters Week. It's Augusta. He's got to feel like that the world is at his beckoning call. This is a great situation for Sam Darnold, and I couldn't be happier for the kid.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.